Armored Core Law. Rosenthal. The Quiet Corporation, the one who once controlled the political mastermind that now hides in its shadow. History. The history of Rosenthal is much like their image. A lot of it is hidden in the shadow of Omer Science, and since they played such a little role in the wars, it is hard to pinpoint where and what the insides of this sleeping tiger look like. However, at the time of the National Dismantling War, we can prove that Rosenthal Corporation had Omer Science as a subsidiary, meaning it had interests in what Omar was producing, most likely the Kojima technology that Omar was one of the leaders of in this field. How they achieved this seemed to come from the fact that this military corporation was derived from a huge industrial conglomerate. An example of this can be found by looking at Berkshire Hathaway in the real world that formed through years of acquisitions and mergers. It is responsible for the ownership of companies and provides utilities, retail goods, transportation and other services, as well as the insurance and other financial services it is perhaps most well known for. This would also explain why the corporation held a lot of capital during these times, as they may have been drawing a lot from these businesses during these wars. After all, luxuries, clothes and everyday items still would need to be produced and sold. However, even with this information, the regions controlled and the main base of operations for this corporation is vague at best, and the reason for this is that Rosenthal for most of the wars was simply inactive, which is what I believe gave Omer Science the freedom it needed to grow and eventually become what it did. The only location we can be sure we have some officials of Rosenthal are would be in the West Asia, where at the time they would be there to check on Omer Science in terms of ongoing projects. Though through some speculation looking over the name of the corporation and its next, we're throwing out an idea here that from the fact that the name Rosenthal is a German and Jewish surname meaning Rose Valley, and that its lead next has the name Leonhardt, meaning Lion's Heart in German, that this may point to the corporation's origin being in Germany, and may have been the region they controlled after overthrowing its government during the National Dismantling War. Still, even with all this capital and being well known in Armored Core 4, Omer manages to gain their support when they align with GA. How did they do this? It could have been done a number of ways. However, the key here we believe is that a high-ranking official of Omar simply wanted some financial and next support so they could go to war with Avahit, their rival at the time. But they also became more powerful within the Rosenthal group, which at the time contained only Rosenthal and Omer Science, meaning more sway within the group on important decisions, and of course, resource allocation. It's here then that Rosenthal's grip started to loosen on its subsidiary, as Omar pulls in the corporation with GA to deal with Reinhardt's growing power. In fact, in Armored Core 4, this is the only time Rosenthal will officially send out one of its necks on a mission, otherwise they are mostly offered as support for Anatolia's mercenary. However, by the time of Armored Core 4 Answer, it is here where a radical shift happens, as with Reinhardt's death, Omar would employ engineers from this fallen corporation, allowing them to make huge technological advances, boosting their capital and dominance within the corporations, allowing them to force Rosenthal into the backseat position within their own group. Omar, now taking the leadership position of the once Rosenthal group, now renames it the Omar Group, which now officially includes Algebra and Technocrat. It's a shift that seems to switch the roles of these two, and yet after this, Rosenthal simply goes back into hiding, watching as Omar uses its political might to control the League and letting them basically do what they want. It hides in the shadows for most of the events of Armored Core 4 Answer, and only ever acts again when one of its assets, Arteria, is under a threat. Done so not because of the lives of people on these flying cities, but because of the income they have, as they are one of the few corporations to own the energy plant to keep the cradles afloat. Products. Rosenthal is said to have provided well-built, all-purpose balanced weaponry, also known for their extreme quality over quantity philosophy when it comes to their products. Their weapon designs are quite unique as well. Take for example the ER-R500. Statistically the highest damage per second laser rifle. Unfortunately it's also a laser rifle with the shortest range, mainly because of its odd muzzle velocity. Along with this, other weapons from the Rosenthal Corporation include the MRR-100 rifle, the MRR-102 assault rifle, the RFR-100, a low-impact rifle, CGR-500 chain gun, and the EBR-500 laser blade. Of course, Rosenthal also produced next parts, including the Hogridge line consisting of all next parts, the Hector line containing only a generator, the Rachel line only containing a booster, and the Lancer line, which included all next parts. Along with these parts, Rosenthal could also be credited with the creation of the Arteria, a large ground-based facility that acts as the cradle's lifeline. Each Arteria facility contains Kojima generators and multiple large energy production drives that broadcast power directly to the cradles. But this is up for debate, whether Arteria was created by Rosenthal or they simply have the knowledge of how to repair it and maintain it. Links employed by Rosenthal: Dario Amplio, pilot of Transcend, killed by the Raven in attack on Arterio Carpals. Gerald Jr., pilot of Noblesse Oblige, killed by the Raven in attack on Arterio Carpals. Leonhardt, pilot of Noblesse Oblige, killed by Berleo's unit in March Adu Supplies. Looking over this corporation, it is unclear what Rosenthal really wanted during this time. They did not seek to expand, they tried to maintain good relationship with others, and never seemed to want or need. Instead, they seemed to simply sit back and watch over their fortunes, only acting when they really needed to. This ends the report on the corporation known as Rosenthal.